I want to welcome our witnesses here today, the Vice Chiefs of Staff of our Armed Forces, and thank them for their leadership. And this is a very important hearing of the Readiness and Management Support Committee. As we begin this subcommittee's second hearing of the year to receive testimony on the current readiness of our military forces, I want to thank the ranking member, Senator Kaine, for his continued leadership on defense issues and work with me in a bipartisan manner on these incredibly important issues to the readiness of our forces. We're joined this morning by General Daniel Allen, the Vice Chief of Staff for the Army, Admiral Michelle Howard, the Vice Chief of Staff of Naval Operations, General John Paxton, Assistant Commandant of the Marine Corps, and General David Goldfein, the Vice Chief of Staff of the Air Force. I want to thank each of you for your leadership and service to our country and all of those who serve underneath you. We're grateful for what they do for our country. General Paxton, I understand that today may be one of your last, certainly readiness force posture hearings, but you're also the longest serving Assistant Commandant in the Marine Corps in the last 100 years. You have been in that position since December of 2012, and I just want to thank you for your amazing service to our country, your leadership. You are the finest, and I've appreciated getting to know you in this position, and I speak for all my colleagues in saying that we just very much appreciate your distinguished service to our country and all that you and your family have done for us.
Thank you, Chairman. Honored to serve and to be with great battle buddies like this and to be with great Marines. So thank you, Senator.
Thank you. Semper Fi. On February 9th, the Director of National Intelligence, James Clapper, said, "In my 50-plus years in the intelligence business, I cannot recall a more diverse array of challenges and crises that we confront as we do today." When we consider just a few developments, it is easy to understand why Director Clapper would say that, from where we even met from last year for this important hearing. He recently testified that there are more Sunni terrorist group members in safe havens than at any other point in history. Russia, a country that the commander of European Command reminds us represents an existential threat to the United States and the NATO alliance as a whole, has invaded and annexed part of Ukraine while conducting a major military modernization and resuming provocative military actions that we have not seen since the Cold War. China has invested massively in its military capabilities, steadily closing many of the technological advantages that the U.S. has enjoyed for decades. Simultaneously, Beijing is building and militarizing artificial islands in the South China Sea, an effort that seeks to bully its neighbors and challenge one of the pillars of U.S. and global trade, the freedom of navigation. Assumptions that held true a decade or two ago regarding the absence of a peer or near-peer military competitor can no longer be taken for granted. In North Korea, an unpredictable, despotic, and nuclear-armed ruler has developed a road-mobile intercontinental ballistic missile that the commander of Strategic Forces Command assesses is likely capable of reaching much of the continental United States. Iran, the world's leading state sponsor of terrorism, is pocketing billions of dollars in benefits from the Iran deal while supporting Hezbollah and the murderous Assad regime, and advancing Tehran's ballistic missile program to threaten our forward deployed troops, our allies like Israel, and ultimately our homeland. Meanwhile, as our communities confront horrible drug epidemics, South Command struggles with a severe lack of resources to detect and interdict drug shipments traveling to the United States. At the same time, Northern Command and its federal partners confront a tremendous challenge in securing a porous southern border that is as vulnerable to terrorists attempting to enter our country as it is to drug smugglers. These are just a few examples of the threats and challenges that we face and our allies confront. Yet as these threats have grown, our military readiness has not kept pace. Instead, we have seen a disturbing deterioration in the readiness of each of our services. Many service members don't have enough time home between deployments for rest and training, undercutting full spectrum of readiness. The readiness of non-deployed forces is not what it should be, depriving our nation of the strategic depth that we need given the threats that we face, and key combatant commander requirements go unmet. Critical war plans lack the necessary resources, and key modernization programs are delayed. In short, the gap between the military we need and the military we have has grown, and that gap is making, in my opinion, is a dangerous gap. Our defense budgets must be based on our national security interests and the threats that we face to those interests, not artificial budget caps. A small percentage of our fellow citizens raise their right hands, join the military, and agree to leave their families to keep the rest of us safe. We owe them tough, realistic training as well as modern, well-maintained equipment. To provide them anything less is to neglect our moral and constitutional responsibilities, and by maintaining unchallenged military superiority and preparedness, we take care of our troops, fulfill our responsibilities, and make costly conflicts less likely. I look forward to hearing from each of you today regarding the readiness of each of our services and what you specifically need from Congress to ensure that we meet our needs and that we can defend our nation, and that our most precious resource, our men and women in uniform who serve below you and you yourself, that you can let us know what they need to effectively do their jobs. I also look forward to getting some specific updates that are important to my home state of New Hampshire on the arrival of the KC-46A at Pease Air National Guard Base. I want to also discuss some issues that are important to the New Hampshire Army National Guard, as well as workers at the Portsmouth Naval Shipyard as they maintain our nation's attack submarine fleet, which is so important to our combatant commanders. I would now like to call on our ranking member, Senator Kaine, for his opening remarks and thank him for his leadership.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thanks to all the witnesses.